All right, we are going to get started in just a minute. If you have questions or want to make comments, we have sheets in the back there with Becky Rubel back there. She's got some sheets. You don't have to fill those out right now. You can fill those out during the meeting and just bring them up here to the front. We'll start in just a couple minutes. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome you to the town hall. I want to start by thanking the River Church, who on short notice made this facility available to us. They are also going to help us with a live stream today, so this will be recorded and available moving forward for you. We're also going to compile all of the questions and comments that you have tonight and put them into a frequently asked questions format and make those available on our website here in the near future. There's a lot of people up here tonight that are here to help answer questions as well as provide information. We've got myself and Clerk Rubel from Kimball Township. We've got County Commissioners Georgia Baldwin and Joy Torello, County Administrator Carrie Hepting, Landfill Manager Matt Williams. I'm not going to remember all of the people over here, but I know we've got a couple county officials over here. We've got Liz King from the Health Department and Steve Demick from the Health Department. And then the rest of these people are all state of Michigan officials from either the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services or from Eagle. So they are here to answer questions that we may have as well. We did invite media here, so I don't know if there's any media here. Jackie, how are you? Didn't see you there. And then we invite a lot of other people just as a courtesy to allow them to be informed about what's going on with the landfill. So some ground rules for you, if you can help us out a little bit. Obviously, we're probably frustrated, probably upset, angry, and we understand that. So when it comes to the question and comment period, don't be afraid to express that. The only thing we are asking is that if someone is talking, that we all be respectful to one another. If you're talking, we're not going to interrupt you. If we're up here talking, please don't interrupt us. That way we can get all the information out to everyone that needs that information. If you haven't yet, there are some forms out there. You can fill them out at any time. They're in the back. They're comment and question forms. You do not have to speak to have those read. If you want, there's a box at the very bottom that allows you to ask a question or make a comment without you giving it. We'll just ask it for you if you don't feel like coming up to the podium here and speaking. We are live streaming, so keep that in mind too, which will be interesting. This was a test run, so if for some reason it failed and it didn't work, it is being backup recorded. So we will be able to put a recording of this town hall on our website in the near future. So with that, we're going to start off with Matt Williams, landfill manager, and he's going to come up and talk a little bit about the landfill.
Well, good evening, everyone. I am sorry we're here and that we have to be here. I apologize that we're even doing this, first and foremost, right out of the gate. I've talked to probably quite a few of the folks here tonight, and I have heard all of not all, I've heard many stories about how the odors from our facility in the area over the last 4 months have impacted your lives. And I just want to stay right off the beginning here that I do hear that and I understand that, and that doesn't fall on deaf ears. If anything, that has made us and me personally try to work harder and make things happen faster to correct this issue. So you have been heard. What I'm going to do this evening in this presentation is pretty much go through a little bit about the landfill, a little bit about what is going on and why the problem is there, and then what actions we have taken, what actions we're going to take, and just try to explain as best I can what our response has been and what we're doing to correct the issue. So with that, if you could please. Thank you, Bonnie. I've got a quick overview. I'm not going to focus on this. This isn't a kind of presentation where I'm educating and, all of that. You folks are here to hear some things and have some questions answered. But I am going to go through a little overview of the landfill and the gas collection system. And then we'll go into the response actions, where we're at today, and what we're doing in the future very quickly. So, Bonnie? So on the Eagle website is a lot of good information if anyone is interested about landfills, how they work, how they're regulated, how they're put together, and how they're run. This is a cross-section, a tool that Eagle has for educational purposes, and the reason why I wanted to put this up is just to make everyone aware that we're not a dump. We have engineered liner systems. We have engineered leachate removal systems. That's the liquid inside the landfill. We have engineered and constructed gas extraction systems. We have groundwater monitoring, gas probe monitoring for subsurface gas migration, and we have requirements for operations that include daily cover and interim cover and final cover when we're all filled up to grade. Just to make the point that our facility, as every other landfill facility in the state, is very highly regulated. And again, very highly engineered. We put a lot of thought into doing what we do and why we do it, and we're very careful to follow the state guidelines. Bonnie? This is an aerial view of the landfill. Many of you have probably seen something like this. We're located just east of Smiths Creek. On this photo, north is to your right. And the only things I really want to point out that are germane to what we're talking about tonight is to the right, there is, I don't know if you can read that or not, is a gas to energy facility, and then another arrow leader pointing to the main flare and vacuum blower station, which I'll talk about more later. And in the back of the facility to the left is the Cell 8 active filling area. And that is where the odors are predominantly emanating from that you've been smelling for the last, well, several months. Bonnie? This is a picture of our overall constructed gas collection system. We estimate we've probably got about over 25 miles of pipe that is buried in the landfill just for the purpose of extracting gas that is produced within the landfill itself. The original system was constructed in 2001, and basically the right half of what you're looking at there, and as the landfill has grown and has expanded, we've expanded our gas system with it. Because as we bury garbage, organics in that garbage will start to degrade. What happens when that happens is there's an off gas that's given. We call it landfill gas, and it's about 65% methane, 35% carbon dioxide in its natural state. We are required to extract that gas and collect it such that we destroy it, because methane, of course, is a very dangerous gas for the atmosphere. And we destroy it in one of two ways. One is in a flare stack, where it's burned. When we originally constructed the system, we had a large vacuum blower and flare at the front end of the facility. Right at the end of the pipeline, you can see there on the right, which is still there today. And in 2011, the county partnered with Blue Water Renewables, which is a DTE subsidiary, to take some of the gas that we produce and use it to run two very large Caterpillar engines, which turn generators to make electricity. So since 2011, there have been two of those engines running that produce 3.2 megawatt hours of renewable electricity and it's put on the power grid. In this diagram, you can see a lot of lines. The black lines basically are a system of laterals and headers, horizontal piping, and it's kind of hard to see on here, but most of the extraction wells attached to that system are vertical in nature. So once we would fill up a certain area of the landfill, we would drill vertical wells into it for the purpose of extracting gas and connect it to our system. In 2008, the county opted to permit and start constructing a bioreactor landfill. And a bioreactor is a fancy name for liquid injection into the waste mass for the purposes of degrading the organics quicker, so that A, more gas is produced, which makes it more economical to take off and do renewable power, number one, and number two, it makes our waste mass inert a lot quicker, because the only things that really pose a hazard to the environment potentially or the organic part of that waste mass. So as that degrades, if that degrades faster, we have a less risk of future environmental issues. So there's both horizontal and vertical wells. Of the gas that we extract, for many years we didn't have much more that we pulled out of the landfill than what the two engines could use. In fact, for a while we were slightly under their max capacity. In recent years, our levels of gas that we've been extracting have risen above what the engines can burn on their own. So that additional gas is being diverted to that original flare up at the front of the facility and is burned off. As the engines burn gas, the remaining is burned off in that flare to destroy everything we collect. Bonnie? So, as everyone is intimately familiar with, we have odors that got bad this summer and persist today. I've been the manager of the landfill since 2007, and this is the first time that I have knowledge of us being a real burden to our neighbors. I think Eagle mentioned in a conference call the other day, for 16 years they had registered 5 complaints about odors from our facility. But in the last 4 months, they've received about 4 dozen. So obviously this is something different going on right now, which everyone would agree. The basic issue that we have going on is that not all of the gas that's being produced is being collected. And if we don't collect all the gas being produced, it's going to find its way out of the landfill on its own, and what happens is what has happened. So I'll be very honest with you that we did not anticipate the level of gas production in our active filling area. Bonnie, could you please back up to that aerial, please? No, that one's good right there. On the left-hand side of this plan view, you can see area of focus, and then you've got a highlighted area. That is our active filling area of the landfill in the southwest corner. That is the area that's producing quite a bit of gas. The dashed lines that you see extending into that area are horizontal gas wells that have been installed as we've been filling that area. As soon as we've been able to, we've connected those gas collectors to our gas system, our extraction system, to pull out the gas as it's being produced. Bonnie, you can go ahead too then, please. More gas than what we anticipated, and there are some reasons for that. We have a large area that we are filling in that cell, larger than we've experienced before. This particular season, we had pretty heavy rains in the spring and summertime, which we think helped supersaturate that waste mass, even with the cover we put on. And we've got more gas than what we anticipated. I guess I shouldn't keep saying that. Our gas system in that cell has been operating, but when we were made aware that we have odors this summer, we took a closer look at what was going on. And it turns out not only is there additional gas being produced in that area higher than normal, we found that we had a decrease in the level of vacuum that we were putting to those extraction wells, so that we weren't able to suck that gas out as aggressively as we could have or should have. So our first step was to identify the problem and do some initial responses. And there's just a short list behind me of the things that we did. We connected 3 additional horizontal wells in that area to our system. We replaced laterals to 6 vertical wells in the adjoining cell 7, which is nearby. We took a look at our vacuum and flare operations. The vacuum that's put to our gas system is from the Blue Water Renewables equipment. They have the large vacuum blower that puts vacuum on our system. So we took a look at how that system had been operating, and we found some issues. We found a programming issue. We looked at all of our well field data. We monitor all these gas wells regularly, and by virtue of taking a closer look, we were able to trend that the vacuum we could apply to these wells had dropped off over the course of the year. And we also increased how frequently we were monitoring all of our gas wells, so we could get a better handle on what was going on. So those are the things that we did initially. Bonnie? So once we figured out here's our basic problem and did some of those initial things, doing those things didn't fix the problem, obviously. So we started another level of work, repair and rehabilitation of our existing gas system. And the primary focus, again, was to get more vacuum in the area of need at the back of the landfill. We had plenty of vacuum at the front of that system. It's like sucking through a straw. You can get a lot more suck through a 1-foot straw than you can a 100-foot straw. If you can just kind of picture that, that's similar to what our issue is. So these actions were to adjust and improve our existing piping infrastructure and extraction system. We reprogrammed that main system up at the front that controlled the vacuum and ran the flare to reestablish operating conditions that, for whatever reasons, weren't being met. We changed some sump settings to reduce the likelihood of obstructions from water buildup in certain structures in the gas system. We requested, and our partners agreed, to increase the vacuum on the system from 50 inches to 59 inches, which is about the max that that unit can do. We added additional clay cover in the cell 8 area, in areas that we had noted and others noted that we had methane, we had landfill gas coming out. We took a look at the actual well heads where we control vacuum on these wells, and we went through and we replaced all of the well heads in this area, in the cell 8 area, with larger well heads that didn't restrict the flow and the vacuum being applied so that more gas could flow out. And finally, we excavated and regraded of over 2,000 foot of the main header between where the vacuum is applied and the system branches off into the different wells. Landfills, as you can imagine, will settle as the garbage consolidates and degrades. That settlement often is uneven. So these main header pipe, which is buried about under 3 feet of garbage, would settle with the garbage. And there are bellies that sometimes are created in that piping. So what we did was dig up everything we could, not everything, we're going to do more, and regrade that and lift that pipe up, because those bellies would tend to hold water. We call it condensate. And too much condensate in your piping means you've got an obstruction and the ability to apply vacuum is diminished. So we made progress in collecting more gas just by making adjustments to our system. Bonnie? This is a graph that shows in July we were pulling about 1,100 cubic feet a minute out of our system. This is measured up at the front where the big extraction blower is. And by doing these fixes, if you will, and improvements to our existing system, we've been able to increase our flow up to about 1,500 cubic feet a minute. So we increased from 1,100 to 1,500. Yet, we still have odors. So there's more to do. Bonnie? So the next step of improvements and enhancements now to our system. I've spoken on a number of occasions publicly and with a lot of you good folks about our move to bring in an additional flare station to the landfill. We are renting a second flare, that's a picture of it right there, which is situated up on top of the landfill in the back. The purpose of having that there is to put more vacuum on wells that need it most in the area, in the cell 8 area where the odors are emanating from. So this flare station was delivered in October. We connected it to our system on Halloween. We had a startup event scheduled for the 1st of November, during which we found out that we weren't able to really apply vacuum. So we worked with the company that we're renting it from to troubleshoot, diagnose, make repairs, order parts, and we were able to get that system up and running on the 9th of November. And we have gradually added wells to that flare from cell 8 as we grow more confident that that flare is going to run and stay running and operate properly. Bonnie? So this next graph will show, this represents November. Bonnie, can you go ahead a few? There we are, thank you. This graph shows just a daily total for November, from the beginning of the month to the 15th. I didn't have time to update this today for what we had over the weekend. But the main flow is remaining pretty consistent at 1,500, yet we're measuring additional flow through that second flare now, and we're pushing an extra 500 cubic feet of gas through that second flare. So we've taken the next step to do that. So now we've gone from around 1,500 to about 1,950 or so. That's an increase from 1,100 earlier this summer. In addition to that, Bonnie, and this drawing is actually kind of hard to see. We've decided that in addition to just applying vacuum to the existing wells, we needed to install some additional collection capability in that cell. So the Board of Commissioners just approved about a week and a half ago a contract to have a contractor come in and build a collection trench. That is shown by the dark blue dashed lines in the cell 8 area. One of the things that we suspect is happening, and the way the gas is finding its way out, is through a granular drainage layer that's on the floor and the side slopes of the cell, because that's an easy avenue for gases to move. So this interceptor trench is right on the perimeter, right next to this drainage layer. The intent is to hook this interceptor trench up to that second flare and suck on that perimeter, and we feel that that will make a difference in our gas collection. Bonnie? And then what's happening from here on out? We're going to complete this gas perimeter construction and tie it in to that second flare. We're going to continue to install additional cover soils over the cell 8 area to try to minimize gases escaping through the cover. And we're going to continue our increased monitoring of the system so we can be sensitive to how wells are reacting and what's going on. But in any event, we will continue to work on this issue until the problems you've been experiencing are gone. So we'll be continuing to we have a plan for additional cover soils. And we're also going to be designing the long-term upgrade and expansion to the gas system, where we will upgrade our vacuum capacity, we will upgrade the size of our headers so that vacuum can be distributed. If we need to put intermediate blowers to make sure that happens, we'll do that. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure that this issue will not reemerge once we get a handle on it. Bonnie. These are some links, and I presume, Rob, that we can make this available to the public. Just informational from Eagle and from YouTube. There's some good sources on there on how landfills work, how gas systems work, and all of that. So that's what I have for you right now. I will say this, that since we have installed the second flare, our perception on our landfill, on the cell 8 area, on our perimeter, and the driving that we do in the area is that the condition has gotten better. But let me say, I spoke with 2 residents today and asked them that question. I said, in your mind, have you seen any improvement? One answer was a very clear-cut no, and the other was, I really can't tell. So we're not there yet, but we're going to keep working on the issue.
So again, we're going to have some comment and question period. The goal of the presentations here is we have had a lot of questions and comments made about the landfill, and what our goal is try to answer some of those questions through the presentations. So hopefully this gave you some understanding of what is being done currently at the landfill to rectify the issue. We've also had a lot of questions about health concerns. I'm not sure we're going to have all those answers for you tonight. Liz King, who is with the County Health Department, she's going to come up and just talk for a few minutes on that.
Thank you. Like Rob said, I am Liz King. I'm the Director and Health Officer at our local health department here. And where I'm happy to be here tonight, I'm sad that I have to be here as well. I echo the same thoughts. I am very sorry for all of you and what you've went through through the last months and the situation that you are in. I have followed your stories. I've heard your stories, your comments, as it relates to health, right? The symptoms you've been experiencing, we've been watching. We hear you. Well water, I know that has come up as well, so we can address that a little bit. I think most important from the health department side, one of our main goals is to be a convener and be at the table. So I want to reassure everyone that we are at the table, but the one thing we don't do is air quality, right? That is our friends from Eagle, and that's why they're here tonight. So air quality, we are not experts in. We contact those who are the experts, and we've made sure that they're here tonight. So any questions on air quality, we will divert to them. I wanted to talk a little bit. I was asked to talk about your water, your concerns there, and health and wellness, and kind of stay in our lane, and that's what I'm going to do tonight. As far as your well and your water for your residents, I know that was brought up at the last meeting. We feel very confident and reassured by the testing that's done twice a year at the landfill. There's over 14 water wells tested that have been non-detect for many years. And Rob was able to reassure us of that. And we're confident that there would be, if there was any leaching or any issue, it would start there at the source. If there was any breach in anything that he's shown you tonight, we would see it in the water on the site. So for that reason, we really want to focus on, this is an air quality issue, not a water issue. And if there's anything very technical about your wells, you can ask, we can take it back. I do have our environmental health director here. He's definitely more of an expert than I am. I come from the clinical nursing side, and if we can't find the answer, we will get it for you for sure. We were also asked to talk a little bit about health and wellness and those concerns. And to be fully transparent, hydrogen sulfide is not something, again, we are experts in. This is not part of essential local public health services or something I've been educated in. So we brought in some toxicology experts from MDHHS. I have a fact sheet for you at the back of the room. I think there was concerns on long-term health effects, and some of that's addressed in this paper. But again, it depends on air quality testing, and I think they'll speak to this a little bit more in detail. We don't have those numbers over time to look at to really assess risk. We can say, we're fairly confident with the information we've received that this is an acute issue that will be resolved once all the engineering controls are put forth here. So that is what we're doing. We'll be at the table, we'll be looking at those numbers, and can better assess once we see where we are.
All right, so we're going to start with some of the comments. Some people did not want to come up, so I will read your name and the comments. So this is Stephen Beverly Hibbert. If the landfill can't handle the extension, then that section needs to be shut down until it can be handled. Ed, I'm going to say your last name wrong, so Oleszewski. doesn't want to speak, but in an effort to lower methane production, can the amount of sewage be lowered or stopped? Matt, you want to address that one?
We actually did suspend septage receipt in September. So at Eagle's recommendation and our concurrence that we thought, let's not do that. I will note though that we have not injected septage into the Cell 8 area to date. The gas that's being developed is developed separate from that. The septage doesn't cause the gas to be generated. It's going to happen on its own, but just so everyone's aware, we have not put septage into that particular cell to date. So.
All right, Sheila Olaszewski. What are the long and short-term health risks, and who is going to pay for the fix? So one thing that we don't know are what are the gases per se. I know that in talking with Eagle, they are working with two properties to establish some air monitoring, if I'm not mistaken. Anyone, are you guys familiar with that at all? Maybe not. I think the Air Quality Division was working on that. I think they do have agreements with two individuals to put air monitoring stations in that area. So that'll help collect some of that data that's needed to determine what those health effects are could potentially be, because without knowing exactly what the gases are in the air, it's pretty difficult to do that. So, who's going to pay for the fix? I think so far, I mean, obviously that's all going to come out of landfill money. I know the county commissioners have allocated funds as well to the fix. The reality is, I think we're all going to pay for it. I mean, you either pay for it in your garbage fees or you pay for it in your taxes, one of the two. So I don't like that answer, but the reality is we need a fix, and it's got to happen. And I'm thankful that the County Board of Commissioners has been very supportive of anything that's needed. Matt mentioned earlier a lot of different things that are being done to fix the issue, and the County Board of Commissioners have been very supportive of that. Linda Bolesky, what are the findings of the EPA and Health Department? So I think we just touched on that one. EPA regulations are actually carried out through Eagle, so they're working on that currently. Lori Kazar, has anyone checked on the air quality for health reasons? Similar question, and again, we just addressed that one. What's that? Yeah, so they got to get those monitoring stations in. Well, the Eagle carries out EPA regulations, so they would enforce regulations of EPA. So if we contact the EPA, they're going to hand that down, I believe, to Eagle to carry out those things. Lisa Hellstrom, I'd like to invite Matt to the next 4th of July picnic in our backyard. Joan Kelch, why did it take so long to get involved? I think there's been involvement on all parties from the beginning. I know from the township standpoint, we were contacting.
Why did it take so long why do we have to complain for you to fix the smell? Why do we have to complain for
So one of the things I asked earlier was that we're gonna try to keep the meeting in somewhat of a format. If you want to make a comment or you have a question, feel free to fill out the form, and we will be glad to allow that to happen. We're not going to interrupt you, and we would ask the same courtesy from you. So the township was involved right from the very beginning. As soon as we got complaints in July, which is when we got our first complaints, our first call was to Matt to find out what was going on. And from there, it's just expanded to the point where last week we did contact the Attorney General's office. So we're limited on what we can do. Could we potentially file suit? I know that Northville did this recently with their landfill, where they filed suit in circuit court to shut down the landfill. I'm not sure that we would be able to do that. We're in between attorneys right now, but we will definitely ask that question of our attorney. The ramifications of that are a little bit difficult because we're what's called a closed county when it comes to trash collection. So by our solid waste fill plan that's filed with the state of Michigan, all trash that's generated in St. Clair County has to stay in St. Clair County. Now, could a judge override that? Potentially, but those are things that we still have to investigate on that end. Eric, Ernie Gracie, what can be done? I think Matt kind of addressed that, what he's got going right now as far as getting done. Richard Silva, why are we still getting Canadian trash? Want to talk about that one? Or Canadian trash?
I can address the Canadian thing to my knowledge. About 9 years ago, the Board of Commissioners opted to start accepting Canadian waste at our facility. At this point in time, we probably take about 30% of our total volume from Canada. The remaining 70% is from St. Clair County.
And we don't make any money collecting, taking our trash.
All right, Beverly Hibbert. We couldn't have company all summer because of the smell. So embarrassing. No picnics, no fishing, a total disgrace. Had to keep the windows closed all summer long. Pat Kilborn, how would they maintain the gases if the landfill is closed? And I don't think there'd be any difference. So, I mean, there's still gases that form because garbage is still breaking down there. So you're still stuck with the same issue. We're still going to have to collect the gas, and that's the key, is collecting the gas. So I have one of those other piles there. All right, Donna Gracie, you wanted to come up? So we didn't set any limits on this. We want to try to limit your time up here to 3 minutes because we got a lot of people to get through. If you have comments that lead to discussion, obviously we're going to extend that beyond the 3 minutes, but try to limit your comments and questions to 3 minutes.
Okay, I got a few questions. One, apparently there's no maintenance being done periodically to the landfill if it takes all these people to bring work that should have been done. And how long is the landfill going to continue in Smith Creek? That's, you know, I've lived in Smith Creek for 73 years. I was here when the landfill opened. I heard all the promises from the county commissioners in St. Clair County. 20 years, that's it. That's all you have to put up with us. And nobody in Smith Creek will ever have to pay any money to put garbage in the landfill. Well, that's a lot of talk, and that's what I'm getting tonight, a lot of talk. We didn't do this, we didn't do that. How long do we have to put up with the smells we shouldn't be collecting trash from Canada. We got enough of our own. You've bought half of all the way to Sturtevant Road for landfill. It's going to go on forever, and we don't want our kids getting sick over this. I just want to know how long we're going to have to put up with it.
So, Matt or George, I don't know if either one of you know the answer. There's currently a plan for the landfill that ends at a certain point. Do you know what that date is?
Right now, we have a permit for the landfill that will allow, at the current rate that garbage is coming in, approximately another 30 years until it's filled. So, past that point in time, I have no idea what future plans may or may not be. but our footprint is very well defined where we are, so there wouldn't be any horizontal expansion of our facility where we sit. The county has purchased properties east of the landfill along Smiths Creek Road. There are no, for what it's worth, there are no current plans to expand the landfill into that area whatsoever. That's what I can tell you right now.
So I would say keep an eye on those plans, right? If you don't want that landfill to continue when that comes up for renewal, make sure your voice is heard at a county commissioners meeting to let them know that you don't want that to continue. And that's the easiest way to take care of that. All right, Jill Hunter?
Yes, I have a business at 340 Henry Street, which is just right next door to your landfill. It's the Pink Elephant Bar. Now the pink is called the Stink. Has it affected my business and revenue? Absolutely. People don't want to sit outside and have a beverage inhaling that odor. It's horrible. It's horrible. And I agree with Donna. When this landfill came in, we were all promised this was just a temporary thing, and it wasn't going to be, you know, a long period of time that the St. Clair landfill was going to be in operation. When we decided to go to the meetings for this new plant that's burning off, we got like $1 million from the state, I guess it was, to do this experimental program. And at the time, Mr. Cal Hunt asked the township, are we doing anything to mitigate any possible problems? Are we taking a portion of this $1 million to set aside in the event that something is going to go wrong? Just a couple more little things here. Regarding the complaints, Mr. Williams, certainly there has been no communication with the state and the county, because I know we've had this problem for going on 2 years and may have gotten pretty bad and odorous, and people thought, well, maybe it'll go away. But I spoke with Mr. Robert Joseph in the Air Quality Division, and Mr. Joseph informed me that runoff and rain had nothing to do with the problems. So my question is, if measures have not been taken, and we're not going to get presented with the air quality tonight, I know I want to put on the record that I have had nausea, headaches. I hear reports from my customers of not being able to breathe, and yeah, it's affecting my business. You know, another question is, and then what does that do to the value of my property? If I wanted to sell the bar, which I was thinking about, word's out now. Nobody's going to want to buy the thing because it stinks. And the measures that you've taken, Mr. Williams, clearly a lot more has to be done. I also question who's monitoring, who's in charge of the landfill in any oversight, enforcement, violations. Yeah, okay, is that my 3 minutes? Can anybody address, like, moving forward, where's the oversight? You say that you're going to be doing these things, and can you give us a time frame? How much longer do we have to live with these odors?
Eagle Mechanical Division is here. They are responsible for the licensing of the landfill. Can you guys address that at all?
So the landfill is regulated by Eagle, by both the Materials Management Division, which oversees the solid waste regulations, which is, you know, the garbage and the kind of day-to-day operations of the landfill. And then the Air Quality Division is the one that, or is the division that oversees, you know, obviously the air quality, and we, you know, dually regulate this. So we have issued violation notices to the landfill as a result of these odor complaints, because we have, you know, heard heard you, and it has been a staggering number of complaints, since about September is when we really started becoming aware of the problem. And we've heard that it's been, since July, for you guys, or even longer from, what we're hearing. So, and kind of a plug for that. So, our closest office is in Warren. So we're not smelling what you guys are smelling. So the only way we know is if we hear these complaints. And we'd like to know where you are, what time the odors are worse, so we can actually come and verify them. Because we can only issue violations to the facility if we verify these odors. And we verify them, based on an odor survey where we, drive around the landfill and the surrounding area and, smell what you are describing. So we are overseeing the remedies that are in place and that will be moving forward through, our licensing and our permitting. We are working with the landfill. They have been, responsive to us with our technical and regulatory recommendations about what, we feel might work and might not, moving forward. So it's an iterative process where the landfill says, we're going to do this, and we say, we like this. We think you could maybe do a little more here, or, point out some sort of recommendations. So, we oversee that from, start to finish. When they come back to apply for any sort of permit or operating license, this will certainly, come into the discussion of, when that time comes.
Excuse me, can you just address the violations? You said violations have been made. What were you-
So how our violation notice works, our violation notices work are, we issue a letter. So we have issued letters that say we have verified these odor complaints that, we've gotten from the citizens. And so those are documented. Anyone can see those through the FOIA process, exactly what, the words are. And I don't remember exactly the numbers, but, Air Quality and Materials Management Division both have, specific law that says you will not create a nuisance odor. It's illegal. So those are the violations that we have cited them from. You had mentioned enforcement. So how our enforcement process works is, we recognize a problem, we investigate the problem, which is, we're kind of in that still investigative stage because we don't have all the answers today, which I know is frustrating, but it's the truth. And then we, kind of see how long it takes, the severity of these problems, which, clearly are severe. They've, prompted all of these complaints and all of your participation here tonight. And we work with the facility to get these remedies in place as, quickly as possible. And I will say they have been responsive and working quickly in similar situations that I have seen, with landfills across the state. Like I said, we then enforce through our, we have quarterly inspections that our people go out on just regularly to oversee the operation and maintenance. We go out on inspections as a result of complaints. Also, if there's any, licensure things, like I said. So then, after, we go through all this period of, okay, we have gotten this many violations, we then determine, is this something where we need to go to escalated enforcement, which means we go into some kind of consent order, which, may have stipulated penalties. It may have some sort of compliance program so that, we are having more oversight of the landfill to make sure that they are, checking these goals. And like I said, that's all based on the severity and, how quickly these things are getting resolved and responsiveness and all of that. So that's kind of our overall process.
So you can find those violations online. You can just search for them if you want. We'll put them up on our website, the Kimball Township website, so that you can see them. They're out there for the public to see. So, Robert Felix.
Can I ask a question on that one? I moved up here in 2019. This previous year, I've had to move back in with my parents an hour away because I have chronic migraines that the doctors believe it's caused by the landfill gases. And I literally cannot even operate some days because it's a pounding hammer on my head. And to be honest with you, you guys are all just talking in circles like you're going to do a problem. No solutions are being presented. Have a nice day. But
Mr.
I
Felix.
came use my
Mr. Felix.
Thank you, Rob. May I use your microphone? I'd like to address the audience.
Well, it would be more to us, but it'd be more to us, so.
I'm going to be a little over 3 minutes, folks. I have quite a bit to cover, but I'll keep it as brief. I have to read it because of the time constraint. Good evening, everybody. I am Bob Felix. I'm a retired process and environmental engineer. I have 40 years experience in the industry, and I have lived 1.5 miles from the landfill for 35 years. My wife and I never noticed any odors until December 2018. They've gotten much worse since July. The landfill has told you that the odors are unacceptable, but what they haven't told you are that the odors are against state law. Specifically, Rule 336.1901, Section B. The landfill was cited by Eagle on October 25th for this violation, amongst with 12 other citations. Among other things, this rule says that a company cannot discharge pollutants that cause unreasonable interference with the comfortable enjoyment of life and property. It's very important that the community continue to report these violations to Eagle to help correct the problems. If you are experiencing unreasonable interference with the comfortable enjoyment of life and property, report it. How do you do that? The Eagle complaint form is found by using Google to search for EGLE, Air Quality Complaint Form. I will put a tear-off sheet up on the stage by the flag that will give you the links to the web page to help you find it. I've been researching this since 2014 as a retired engineer, and I know that sounds strange unless you're an engineer, and I would like to tell you why we are getting the increased odors from the landfill. In 2009, the landfill was granted a permit to establish the first in the nation research project to inject raw septic tank sewage into the landfill garbage to increase the landfill gas production. State law that prohibited this action was changed in 2005 to make this legal. In December 2011, the project became operational, and by 2018, several additional acres were added to the project in the landfill, and sewage gathered from throughout the county was brought down to Smiths Creek landfill and injected into the landfill garbage. The quantity of sewage added to the landfill increased to over 1 million gallons each year. The increase in landfill gas production was projected by CTI, the consulting firm responsible for this, and St. Clair County Landfill. The increase was projected to be 7 times more landfill gas than from a normal dry landfill. Now, DTE generates electricity from this gas, and folks, you need to understand this was a good effort. It was an experiment. This is the only landfill that's doing this. This is an experimental project for biogas. Try to help the environment. It's not working. Here's what's happening. DTE generates electricity with this gas, and the county gets about $52,000 per month as their share, and we get the odors. It is this large extra gas increase from the raw sewage, even though Matt says cell 8 isn't being injected. The sulfur, or the hydrogen sulfide, is heavier than air, migrates to the low areas, vents into the air. Barometric pressure, humidity, other factors that I won't go into can influence that. But this large gas increase from the raw sewage addition, that's what caused the odor problems as the leaking landfill gas overflows into the community. Containing these odors are proving to be very difficult on this project for various technical reasons that I can't go into at this time. Eagle has stopped the injection of more sewage. I was told by Eagle it was their mandate, not something that was an agreement, the landfill being nice and everything. Eagle has stopped the injection of more sewage into the landfill until at least December 31st, 2023. And commissioners, we are requesting that the county suspend adding any additional sewage to the landfill indefinitely. Next. One more comment.
Next month, I intend to attend a board meeting to let the commissioners know the liability that they are incurring. Other landfills without this sewage gas injection project have also had leakage problems. When you get the Sierra Club, the Michigan Conservation Club, other places in, lawsuit judgments have ranged in the millions of dollars. That's the liability we're looking at from this artificial generation. Thank you very
Mr.
much,
Phillips.
Eagle. Thank you for coming tonight. The solution lies with you. I am going to put these tear-out sheets up by the flag after the meeting. Please pick up, and it'll tell you how to get to the complaint form. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Al Williams.
Well, I don't even know where to start. Like, I'm so frustrated right now, especially after hearing you talk. Me being I'm a truck driver. I'm under federal law for inspecting my vehicle every day on a daily basis. I got a checklist I have to go through. So if I get into an accident or I hurt somebody, they can go back and see if I checked my vehicle and see if it's my negligence that caused the problem. All I'm hearing from you is, since the smell is, we've did additional looking, we started looking more. Like, why wasn't this done earlier? Why is there, you're the manager, you oversee, like she said, process. Like, is there daily inspections, weekly inspections? Like, why isn't this done on a daily basis when you're dealing with dangerous gases? I have a hazmat, I gotta take a test every 2 years. Why is this not done on a daily basis? Have somebody go around, check your vacuum pump. Okay, the vacuum's not causing so much pressure anymore. It's not sucking. Like, why was this now found out? I don't get it. Nothing?
We do monitor, we do review data, we do take a look at our systems, and when we see issues, we address them and repair them.
Just shouldn't these issues been seen if you were doing that?
I will admit.
Before the problem happened?
I will admit to you that the odors should have been identified where they were and what was going on. I 100% admit that to you. But what I will say, as soon as we were aware of the issue, we have been working to correct those issues, but we're not there yet.
But I'm saying, who's held accountable for not doing these inspections more often? Is the state is there not any rules by the state or county? Like, I'm under federal law. I have to do this daily just to drive a truck. You're dealing with deadly gases. Methane can explode, right?
Yes, it can.
Like,
at the right
why is
concentration.
why is me as a truck driver got to do more than you daily?
We have the engineering controls in place to do that. We
Then why
comply.
wasn't this figured out? I seen, my wife has something online. 2021, you got approved for a permit for a gas holding tank. Why isn't that installed yet? Like, there obviously was a problem seen back in 21 that you needed more storage for gas.
I'm not aware of what that permit is.
You got that?
That had nothing to do with me.
Okay. All right, that's my bad then. Okay, I apologize for that. And then I guess another thing is, going back to the 30% of Canadian landfill that you guys approved. Like, why 30%? That just sounds like a money grab for the county, a government money grab.
We don't get any money for it.
Right, exactly. I mean,
They don't, ask Matt, they don't pay us beans for them to bring our garbage, for them to bring their garbage to our county.
so why is it allowed?
They pay less money than we do. Ask him.
But why is it allowed? Like, if we're St. Clair, if our garbage is contained to St. Clair, we can't shut it down and take it somewhere else to get this problem fixed. Why are we allowing another country to come in and dump their shit in our neighborhood and get no money? And you take our taxes. Like, it's ridiculous. Another country? It's not even another county.
We give them breaks.
And 30%, we're only 20% off. I'm done. You guys gotta fix it.
So I've got one here from someone that doesn't have any question or comment, but they didn't want to speak. Michael Lukasik, are you here? Maybe not. All right. Kim Parsons Williams? Kim Parsons Williams? Sir, could you just fill out a form for us to just help us? We're trying to keep everything documented and things. It just would really help us out, okay?
Okay, so for Eagle, we've been sending in complaints since, you're saying September. I know some people have probably been complaining since July. Has there been any air quality testing?
Could you give her the mic, please?
Hey, yes, as a result of the numbers of complaints we received, we have sending people out to the landfill, but the testing is only on the landfill property. So we have identified number of issues and issued 2 violation notices to the company. You can see the notice on the online at the air quality page.
Can you tell us today what those were? What are we breathing?
Okay, one of the violation is odor that we identified. Another violation notice is their failure of the gas collection system.
Okay, so are we getting sick from this? Can the air quality person from Department toxicologist, where's he at?
So as Eagle just said, we don't have air data from the community, so
Why?
that answer hasn't been collected.
Why?
I think that's a question for not the state health department. We don't collect the air data. We work with Eagle because they have the regulatory collections.
So Eagle, why hasn't that been done?
We are in the process of,
In the process? 4 months in the process.
well, I hear you, and I really feel sorry that you guys had to experience this odor. However, there are things going on. For example, we need to get a consensus from the property we use. So that takes time. And
A consensus? Can you take the consensus now? You can come to my house tonight. Like, how long is this gonna take? Okay. How do we get?
I know we're frustrated. And
We're
I
very
know
frustrated. This has been going on for
and
4
we're
months.
angry, right? So this is what I know because we've had some conversation. They have agreements with 2 property owners now, I believe, to put air monitors on 2 properties. You just know, I mean, it's expensive equipment. You don't want to just throw it anywhere, so you got to have it in a place that it's not going to be disturbed. And I believe they've gotten those 2 locations.
When is that gonna be installed at these 2 locations?
You guys have a date?
I cannot reveal those locations because in the past, there are people who went to the locations when we installed the monitors.
Okay.
And temper the monitor. So I cannot reveal those locations. But the locations are chosen that's very close to the landfill.
Okay.
And we finally got consensus from them, but I need the upper management to give me the green light. So you know, believe me, I understand your frustration. I'm equally frustrated, you know. There are a lot of things to be considered. It was, you know, it's in the process. Hopefully it will be soon.
Can you give me a time frame? Us a time frame?
I can, I'm sorry.
A month? A year? How long are we waiting?
I hope it's not going to be a year. I hope it's going to be soon. And, you know, you're welcome to voice your concern and to our complaint line, in addition to the one that the gentleman going to give it to you. There is a telephone number I'm sure a number of you already use. It's the peace line that you can call. And if you want to know, I can give you the number again. It's 1-800-292-4706. And, you know, the more you guys voice out, maybe they'll, you know, have this process
It
going
just
to
kind
be.
of seems like everybody's saying what they're gonna do, and nobody's really doing anything.
But we are doing something, right? We are sending equipment out to monitor the
I know.
landfill and identify the issue, you know? And that's how we know the gas collection system was not working. But in order for the gas collection system to work, it's not like you can flip a switch and tomorrow everything will be ready. So
Okay.
there's a lot of work involved.
Is there a way that you can update this man here with when those systems are gonna be in place and operating, and then when you get the results, so he can notify all of us?
The result will be sending to the DHHS, so they can take a look at the number. We are not the expertise for those numbers, so hopefully you guys will eventually will get the test result, but the result
Hopefully.
we're testing is going to go to DHHS.
Okay, so DHS then, can you notify the city, the township, so we can be notified?
Yeah, we will share the results.
Okay.
So just for clarity too, when we get the air data that comes in, we assess it for risk based on length of exposure, based on concentration in the air. Air contamination becomes a difficult thing because some odors you can smell, but they're not necessarily influencing you in a toxicological way. Other odors you can't smell, but they do influence you in a health-related way. So we really have to know what we're looking for, and so that once we get the air data in, we can do that assessment. We can look at the length of exposure, the duration of exposure, how close the odors are to the facility, and all that's going to play into our risk. And then what we'll do is we'll put out a health consultation, it's called. It's a report of the assessment of the risk associated with it.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, and then I have another question. How do we go about shutting down the landfill until this is fixed? Because I think 4 months is long enough. So what is the next step? Do you know the next step? All right, well. Okay, yeah.
I'm Steve Samasko. I'm one of the commissioners. I live over in District 1. I was born and raised out in the Yale area. I have a farm, and I've been in this county my entire life. The fellow with the green plaid jacket was asking, why is this material coming into the county? You know, the county contracted for that. You know, back in 2009, you know, they were trying to bring material in for this grand project, this bioreactor that was supposed to take septage that's being knifed into fields and the farms and put it into the landfill and manage it in a way that, you know, green energy, right? That was the big thing. As the gentleman spoke earlier, it sounded like a good idea. Maybe it's out of control. I don't know.
Sounds like it.
I like to think I'm a practical thinker. You've got the board's attention. What have we done? I mean, I think to date we've spent probably close to $400,000.
No, I appreciate you giving him this
So what
money.
we're trying to do, so what I'm trying to express to you is there's a problem there. I was on the board from 08 till 15. I left. I came back in January this year. This is the first issue it ever came up as a problem, but it's a big problem.
Right.
And we threw everything at it we could. Mr. Ulatowski had his resolution for the board. He wanted us consultant. He wanted shut down, limit landfill, and some other things. I don't like spending money on consultants, so I don't have to. It's just I don't have no problem with consultants, but you can sure shove a lot of money out the door on consultants and still be exactly where you're at. So the material that came in, I was in the county prosecutor's office as an assistant prosecuting attorney back in the probably late 80s when Kettlewell landfill had an issue, and all this litigation. I remember the litigation because unfortunately trash is an item of interstate commerce, and it comes under the interstate commerce clause, and we couldn't restrict Kettlewell from bringing in trainloads of Canadian trash, okay? That doesn't mean we have to. That just means we couldn't keep it out. If a contractor, well, Kettlewell's gone, or he's gone, actually, he's gone, but his landfill's closed too. Now we have this landfill, and I've always wanted to hold on to the landfill. There was some banter about selling the landfill years ago and this and that, and I thought, we need a landfill for our community. This bioreactor piece, getting the Canadian trash in, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, was to get fuel. You know, they wanted the septage and they wanted this increased trash so they could create this methane, and it's an enterprise fund. And so that answers, hopefully, the gentleman's question of how and why it comes in. It doesn't mean we have to take it. As an attorney, I don't think if we don't want a contract for it, we don't have to. And we'll be looking at that. What are some of the answers? Closing the landfill down on the state of Michigan, you have to have plans in place for how you're going to treat your trash. You have to have reciprocity between different counties and so forth if you're going to move trash over state lines or county lines and everything. We're a closed county, so we have our own landfill. Most people don't, and we take care of our own trash, right? Well, we can't just flip the switch and close it down. We can stop taking septage. I didn't realize it was an Eagle edict, but my fellow I graduated high school with, Carl Silverthorne, owns Carl Septic. And he was pumping my tank out in Kimball Township, and we're talking about the landfill odor because I'm curious what's going on with the landfill odor. He's upset because he's driving to Lexington to pump his trucks out when part of his business plan now is to get it to the landfill. Well, he can't do that. So that's in place. You know, we're going to look at everything we can. One of the things I voted for recently was a method of injecting some kind of solution to nullify this odor.
But what does that do?
I didn't think it was worth doing, but we did it. I mean, we put money.
But that just hides what we're breathing.
Yeah, I know.
We don't
but
know.
My point is, and I asked your supervisor, what is it we can do that we're not doing? You know, so from my perspective, and I think the people on the board here, the county commission, our landfill director, we're doing everything we can get our hands on. I don't know what the answer is.
Right.
And I came here late tonight. I apologize, but I wanted to hear. I know. Looking at people and listening to people, it's a huge problem.
Yeah.
And I lived next to a pig farm for years. It's out of business now, but when the wind blew the right way, well, you got the pigs. Well, I'm surprised the landfill went for as long as it did and as well as it did for all these years without a peep. So, but there's a problem now, and from the county commission perspective, we're listening, we're dedicating resources to it, we're going to do anything reasonably that we can do, and we're not, in my vote, and I'm sure some of the other commissioners or all the commissioners, we're not going to take a money grab over people's lives and over people's use and enjoyment of their property. It's not, but we need to handle it in a way that's responsible because this is an enterprise fund. It involves state law. We have contracts in place. So we're here. We're listening. I wish I had an answer for you. I'm going to think real hard and try and come up with one. But collectively, the brain trust for the county is the Board of Commissioners, right? Well, we're going to do the best job we can. So.
No, I appreciate the county commissioners giving the money, whatever the landfill is requesting. I appreciate you just giving them whatever. Please don't put something in the air to deodorize the odor, though, because then we will never know what we're smelling. Yeah, not to get some money, but to hide the odor, to suppress us a little bit so we're not smelling it.
It's not material that goes into the landfill per se. It is a system where we set up piping along the perimeter, and it's a vapor, an oil-based product that comes out neutralizes anything that may be, it masks it to a degree.
Right, that's what I'm worried about. I don't want to be masked.
But that was never the solution to the problem, nor is it the solution to the problem. The solution to the problem is to improve our system, get all the gas we need to get, and that's the primary thing.
Yeah, no, in our discussions, it was to mitigate the smell while we were still going through the process of every fix. So, for 15 years, this has worked, we troubleshoot, it obviously didn't work. Then, adding with the vacuum pieces that was taking more out, which in, prior years has worked, and for whatever reason it's not working. Taking the recommendations from Eagle that have been received, trying to work together with them. From the air monitoring perspective, anytime a violation is issued, it's just based on a literal sniff test. It
Right.
wasn't with a reader that said it's at this level or it's that level.
Right.
It was, yep, you're right, there's a smell, and here's your violation, which I think everyone knows, but for where it's coming from or what it's doing. And then as to, I've asked Matt in previously, if we were to shut, there are measures, there are emergency things that would trigger a total shutdown, right?
I think this is an emergency.
Well, but I'm not sure that, I don't know that stops it. So that's what we've talked about. Even if you stopped putting
Garbage
waste
in.
into that cell, the smell isn't going away. So it doesn't fix it. Because I think the way you've explained it to me is we're talking about 4-year-old trash at the bottom that is leaking out.
Okay.
There's no way to, except for these measures that they're putting in. So just for what it's worth, we have looked
Right.
into what would trigger a shutdown of the landfill. I mean, what does that look like? And so we have looked into those things, but I think getting it fixed and trying to mitigate during is what, as commissioners, we can help make sure. We also had a really great meeting with some of our legislators today, and I think that they would be more than happy to help if we needed to work toward.
Let's do that.
Yes, yes. So that was just today at noon, so
Okay.
that is on the docket.
All right. And then Matt, what is the ETA on when everything that you think needs to be done to fix this will be done? Do we have an ETA?
The perimeter trench installation started today.
Okay.
The schedule for that has that being completed by December 9th. It would be my hope, and we're going to continue to do other things in the interim, that by the end of the year, the big problem is pretty much gone away.
Okay.
That would be my target. Yes.
Okay, so if by the end of December, we're still having this problem, we're all gonna get this man's phone number tonight, and we're gonna get him going with closing this landfill down. I will pay you. All right, thank you.
Jessica Razzle?
Hi, this is really out of my element to come up here and talk, but
You could have checked the box that said no.
yeah, I'm not a great writer either, so I just wanted to make a quick comment. I live in St. Clair County, very close to Kimball, just a few miles outside. And in July and August, I called my St. Clair Township Hall, complaining of the smell, and no one knew what was going on. Like, they couldn't say, call here to complain. Like, they just had no idea. So I don't know if we can just all get on the same page where maybe when folks are calling St. Clair Township, they can be directed and know where the smell is coming. One morning, me, my husband, and my son slept with the windows open, and we had a hard time breathing, and we went outside, and we could smell like nasty, that nasty smell. I even called Semco out because I thought I had a gas leak, because nobody could give me any information, and Semco, I mean, I know it's not their place, but like they didn't even have any information what's going on. So for like a simple mother like me trying to get answers, reaching out, but no one is giving me any information. All the moms on my street are talking about it. I don't know, if the township could have given me Eagle's information, I think that there would be more people here today or more complaints that would have came in. So that's
Yeah,
all.
so I can address that a little bit. So Kimball Township's been pretty active. We started, one thing that we did is we started collecting as much data as we can. So we set up a survey online back in October, at the beginning of October. Anybody's welcome to respond to that survey. We had two intents with that. First of all, as and Matt and I had talked, as they were making changes, we wanted to have a sense of whether they were working or not. So having people respond to that survey and tell us, hey, I'm smelling it, or, you know what, it's diminished today, is important feedback for us to get. The other thing it does is when it comes to us discussing these matters as we go up a chain, whether it's Eagle or whoever, having that data is extremely helpful for us. So we've included St. Clair or Wales or whoever wants to respond to that can respond to that, even though it's on the Kimball Township website. I think one of the challenges is, for Kimball Township is it's in our community. So for us, it's a big deal, right? And the majority of the people that are impacted, they live in Kimball Township, right? So.
Backside of the dump, St. Clair Township.
No, I get that. I understand that. I understand that.
Landfill, sorry.
Yeah, no, I got you. So I don't think those townships have been, they're aware. I talked to, I think it's Mike, your supervisor. So he is aware of it. I don't know what role there is that he wants to play in that. We did, I think as Commissioner Samasco mentioned, we adopted a resolution as a board related to what we wanted to see from the landfill. One of our concerns was that we didn't feel that we were getting down to and I think we know now, but at the time I don't think we knew what was generating the cause or the main cause of the issue, and we wanted that to be addressed as opposed to just putting in fixes. We wanted a long-term solution so that we don't have this happen again. And we did talk about the other one, one of the other ones was we did ask for a change to the solid waste disposal plan that would allow for emergency closures. The problem with that is, again, it still doesn't eliminate the breakdown of garbage that's already there, right? So I don't know that that's a perfect solution, but again, if we don't get a solution, I think we're going to be hard pressed to move in that direction, right? So I don't want to move in that direction, but results speak, right? So I would just, for you, I would talk to your supervisor at your township. Just let them know that you have concerns. Feel free to fill out the survey on our website as well, and contact Eagle. It carries a lot of weight when a township can say, hey, look, I have 150 complaints about the landfill odors from 100 different people. That carries a lot of weight with it. But when you're doing it as well, it has an even bigger impact. So if you have concerns, then I would contact Eagle and contact your township supervisor and let them know. Yeah.
The other thing we've talked about internally is having some kind of landing page on our site, and we've done that at stclaircounty.org. It's kind of similar to when the gypsy moth problem came to be a couple of years ago. The best data we could collect was from people who could say, this is my address, this is what's happening, this is when it's happening, or this is how much we have, so that we can track better, because dates and times can be tracked back to weather patterns, but to have a landing page that's countywide so that you're not into each municipality, because then that is how some of the information gets lost. So internally, we've talked about having that with all of this information and the presentation available at stclaircounty.org as well.
Another thing that came before the board on a memo from a corporation counsel, and I think maybe Matt had sent it out or was part of that, was DTE has a proprietary interest in the gas. They have a contract that allows them to have right of first refusal for the gas that's produced. I believe we have 2 10-cylinder cat motors running out there? And I have a son-in-law works for Waste Management. I think they run 6 over in Lenox Township. 10-cylinder cat motors that run on this gas produces electricity. So my question was, this is probably one of the wettest years as a farmer I can ever remember. If I dig a post hole, it's half full of water. The fields are totally saturated. This fella here, the engineer, told me, well, it's gas, it's a heavy gas. Does that have something to do with it? I have no idea. And we're trying to explore all these types of possibilities, but even getting to the gas, once we have excess gas in the nature of 600 British thermal units or whatever it is, whatever the number was, and I asked Matt, well, are we there? Can we notify DTE and tell them, look, you need to put another motor out there and start taking some of this gas and making more electricity? We're not at that threshold, I'm told. Is that correct, Matt? We're getting close. So we're looking at every possibility, including getting Detroit Edison to invest more in that landfill, to take that gas, instead of having it vent or flare or just escape, turn it into what it's supposed to be, which is income stream and electricity, and reduce that odor coming out. So that was another thing we looked at. Yeah, go ahead.
Very quick, Steve, thank you.
Would you come up to the microphone, because I'm wearing hearing aids, I still can't hear you.
Unfortunately, my experience has been, this is a PR effort for DTE. They're into biogas as a public relation, a green effort. This type of attention to the landfill, I have not talked to DTE. I know some of their people. I would not be surprised if they head the other way because of the negative PR. No.
Economic feasibility plan?
No, they'd love to see this work. They'd love to have, we all would like to see it work. Who wouldn't want to convert garbage to electricity? That's beautiful.
Well, you get paid to take the trash, you get paid to take the seepage, and you
yep.
get paid for electricity.
But DTE is going to see this as a publicity nightmare, I'm afraid, and they're going to run the other way.
I don't care about their publicity nightmare. We have a contract. We
Yeah,
have a contract
understand.
with them, and I know what to do with contracts. And we put them on notice.
Yep.
And then if they don't take it, we can let somebody else come in and do that. So we have options. I'm just saying, we're exploring all the options, including things.
I'm not an attorney, but I've seen that in the past. Just very quickly, 30 seconds, the lady that asked, what do we do? You don't want to shut down the landfill. This is a compost pile that's going to generate a lot of gas for years. You want to work actively on collecting it. You want to slow down the creation of more gas. I'm not going to say this is a failed project. Other countries have done this. The Netherlands have done a beautiful job. Do some exploring. They have a whole different system and they burn this gas. But you don't want to shut it down. You do want to stop producing so much gas until such time you have a definite way to monitor and collect it. Matt, I know the odor's coming out of cell 8, and I know you've been at this a long time. Hydrogen sulfide being heavy propagates to the lowest spots and comes out. Collecting it is problematic, and you're going to find by the time you suck enough vacuum through, historically what happens, you now have so much air in your methane that the BTU value is lower, and the oxidation rate that takes place in your generating equipment will cause a lot of maintenance headaches. So there's a lot of new technology here, and I, as an engineer, love it. But as a resident, I don't appreciate being the guinea pig, and that's the problem, Steve. Thank you for the time.
All right, Brian Kaltz, he didn't want to speak, but his question is there a third-party testing? Water wells are going on landfill honesty testing. Matt, you want to address the water well testing?
Bonnie, would you go to the next slide, please? Bonnie? Oh.
It's sleeping.
There it is. Again, this is a plan of our facility. It's kind of hard to see, but around the perimeter of our site that are highlighted with yellow portions are all of our groundwater monitoring wells. The groundwater flow is west to east. It's incredibly slow, actually about 2 feet per year. It's very, very slow. But we have been monitoring the perimeter of our groundwater for a long, long time, probably about 40 years. And we do not have any record in all of that monitoring of any off-site contamination for 2 reasons. Number one, we build good liner systems. Number two, we're surrounded by a lot of clay. So that doesn't want to go anywhere. So we also voluntarily in 2019 tested I believe 4 of the down gradient wells and 2 of the up gradient wells for PFAS compounds. And the results of that testing showed there was no PFAS in the groundwater out of either up or down gradient from our facility. So we feel very confident that there is no off-site contamination coming from the landfill into the groundwater or into private wells. And by the way, I do have, if anyone's interested, I do have that report on the PFAS testing, if you'd like to take a look. I have our last round of groundwater monitoring well reporting that's there for anyone to take a look at as well.
Matt and I had a discussion after the last meeting, as we sometimes do, and on this groundwater issue, Matt told me the same thing, that he's absolutely certain that, you know, the groundwater's safe. What I told him was, I said, when a citizen hears, I'm from the government and everything's fine, that doesn't go real far. And people want to have peace of mind, they want to have some security knowing that their well is not contaminated either from the landfill or anything else. And I would be interested, we talked about maybe the health department, I would be interested in trying to get something where people could, at least in the east side of the landfill or some proximity to the landfill, assist people with water testing or provide water testing. To me, that's a reasonable thing to do. So I would be in favor of the county getting involved with that. Now, yes, it can open things up to other problems if people have problems, but if it's coming from the landfill, we need to know it. And if it's coming from something else, we need to know that too. But I would be, as one of the commissioners, willing to consider and support having people's water tested in some reasonable fashion, some format to do that, to either assist with the cost or provide health department assistance, so people know when they go to the tap and they feed their kids a glass of water, there's nothing wrong with it. So that's would be my position on it.
All right, Deanna Westfall has a question. Why is the landfill still operating as an RDDP since 2009? Current permit number 24, letter H, Eagle. I don't know what that is.
May I see that, Ron? The last bit of that question. RD and DP. RD and DP stands for Research, Demonstration, and Development Project. We do have a permit under that set of rules to operate our bioreactor. EPA has been saying for a long time that bioreactor technology will at some point here be taken out from the research mode to a best practice. That has not happened yet. So we are still under that RD and DP, and that permit issued by Eagle for us to operate.
All right, Dennis Bonkowski, or Bonkowski.
Good evening. I have a question for you. I walked out of my house Thursday at 12:20 a.m. and my eyes started burning and my nose started burning. Now, does that sound right to you? And the wind was coming from the dump. Another question, has anybody thought about checking the garbage trucks? The ones my wife and I used to walk around the block. We don't anymore. The garbage trucks that come from our local area, they're stinky. And in the summertime when it's warm, they're stinky. In the winter, they're not bad. But the garbage trucks that come from Canada, the trash trucks, those smell just like the dump, where it takes your breath away. That's what it's like when they go by you. It takes your breath away. Why? Has anybody looked into this? I mean, it's this problem might not be from the dump, per se. It's what's being deposited into the dump. Another question.
Go ahead.
Who was the engineer on this job? Was this a company? Was this an individual? Did one of you guys do this? Come up with this idea and get this into motion? Who was the contractor that put all this into the ground and supposed to make this stuff work? Somebody's got to head this up.
Okay, so I can tell you from my, this is my personal experience, is that I smell the landfill smells mostly at night, personally.
That's when it is usually.
My wife works late, and when we get back to the house, usually 11:30, 12 o'clock, it smells pretty bad. That's usually when we smell it. Not every day, but probably several times a week. As far as engineers go, that's totally a landfill operation question. Do we do any kind of inspections on vehicles that come in, or I don't know that.
Couple things to answer your questions. There is an engineering consulting firm who engineers the landfill, who does design for both our liner systems, our gas extraction systems, and other components and things that we build. So we do have an engineering company who works for us, and there have been a couple different ones in years past. The current company, CTI and Associates, has been with the landfill for over about 18 years. With respect to garbage coming in, each load inside the county is declared by the driver as to what community it's coming from and what type of waste it is. And that's ticketed and tracked. Waste that comes from Canada is manifested and declared at the scale. It comes with a couple different sheets of paper saying here's where it's coming from, here's the type of material it is. We do have a long list of materials and types of waste that are prohibited. So if one of those shows up on the tipping face up on the landfill, the operators will identify that to us immediately. And we will typically have that load removed by the company that brought it, if that happens. So there is visual observation, looking for prohibited wastes, and that's kind of the inspection that we do.
Okay, thank you.
Dawn Baker.
Hello. I just wanted to let everyone know some of the things that I've been noticing. And it's been since 2018 before anyone could smell. The number, I live very close to the landfill. The number of our community members that have been diagnosed with cancer, breathing problems, our foundation to our house is sinking. Our yard is sinking. Our decks are sinking. Our appliances, our electrical outlets. Doing yard work this summer, I was electrocuted 2 times, cutting my flowers back. Our animals are staying sick. Blindness, joint problems. There's an oil that I can see in the air above the ground. It's a floating oil. Our well pump, our appliances click on and off all hours of the day, all hours of the night. Sometimes I've gotten up and got a glass of water and my ice cubes have had a green glow to them. In the back of our property, you can walk out sometimes and there's a green glowing resident growing in different places on our property. There's a ticking coming from the power lines. So those are some of the things that I've noticed. even way before the smell. But this summer, our family has been sick. Vomiting, diarrhea, nausea, headaches, fatigue. Our kids, our animals, a lot of doctor visits, a lot of taking the animals to the vet. So those are the things that I'm seeing. You know, over the summertime, our foundation to our house, the whole ground, I mean, is just sinking in. There's definitely something going on. The trees, the animals, the ground. You look at all these problems, and it is, a lot of it's in Smiths Creek, and we're all backed up right to the landfill. So, you know, I just wanted to make everyone aware of the things that are going on in, you know, our area. The smell, I'm kind of thankful for the smell because maybe some of us wouldn't have realized without the smell. So just to let everyone know, like I definitely see the changes in the ground and the animals and our health, our surroundings, our air, electrical. So just
Thank you for
just to
sharing
put it
that.
out there.
We'll make
Yep.
sure that that's documented. David Nowicki? You want me to just read it?
No, that's okay.
All right.
It's going to be different anyway. I'm Dave Nowicki, and I live about a mile east of the landfill, and I get a lot of that smell when it depends on which way the wind's blowing. So when you do your tests, you want to do it in the early morning or at night when you're not working, of course, but you got to go out there and do it at those times in the direction the wind's blowing. What we're smelling from the last meeting, I understand, is hydrogen sulfate, and it says, OSHA says 20 parts per minute, not to exceed any time. 50 parts per minute is max can peak, and not to exceed 10 minutes. Well, the one gentleman said that he was having eye irritation. Well, sore eyes is at 10. Strong, intense odor is 20 to 30. So we're probably right now, we're in those areas, and it's pretty bad health risks. And it can be moving up more and more. Also, closing, I think since we're a closed area for St. Clair County, we can only take our garbage in St. Clair County. We should stop Canada from coming here right now until this problem is fixed. Okay. Also, I think the farther you get away from those generators, like you said, the vacuum is at its max right now, or to suck it, and maybe you should move your generators and closer to the source, because the larger the landfill gets, as farther it's going to get away from those generators. We should be adding more generators. It's a good idea in generating electricity. I think better idea than solar panels. Use a landfill that's generating automatically the gas to run these generators. And another 30 years, this landfill is going to be a lot larger. Even if we close the landfill, that's going to keep generating methane gas and sulfate. So it's going to be there forever. So we got to work on this problem now, and the weather's not going to be any better. We're going to have worse moisture content, and the change of climate is going to affect this landfill even more.
Thank you. Can we go back to the Canadian trash for just a second? Steve, you mentioned the international trade law would not allow us to deny Canadian trash. Am I correct?
Canadian trash, and the county, Bill Kettlewell had a landfill, his proprietary, he owned it and do whatever he wants. His landfill was not a county landfill. He was going to bring in a lucrative contract by trainloads of trash, and the county, goes back 30 years. I hate to age myself, but I am. And there was litigation, and it was determined, I have to look at it, I'll check it when I get back to the office tomorrow probably, but the state of the law was such that it was deemed to be an item of interstate commerce, and you could not preclude a person from engaging in interstate commerce. So, I forget how we resolved that issue, but that was part of this fellow with the green jackets question, why do we allow it? Well, but this is our landfill, this is the county landfill. And, you know, as commissioners, and we have a director for the landfill who has an engineer working for him and all that, so we've got to look at all that. So I don't know if that answered your question, but I believe that out of county, out of state trash, actually not out of county, inter-county trash is not interstate commerce, out of state trash, out of country trash is. So I think that's my point.
Excuse me, he talked about possibility. Is it possible we could get another 20, 30 years on our landfill for our county if we stop the damn Canadian trash?
Well, I think it's planned that. How long can we continue to use the landfill for our county?
The life that we have left with the current permit and the current footprint, and again, there's no plans for expanding that, at the rate it's coming in today is about 30 years. If the 30% Canadian were to take out, then that 30 years, I'd have to do the math, but it would be extended longer than that, obviously, maybe on the order of 40 years.
Then why don't we stop the Canadian trash?
All right, Cody V.
All right. Hold on. I took some notes. First off, I just want to say, I think a lot of the concern with the landfill is that it took the citizens' efforts to make enough noise to get this addressed, instead of you being able to see the problem and sending out letters, hey guys, we got something here, we're trying to fix it. So that makes all of us not trust you. Makes me not trust you. That being said, you were asked a question about if there was a third party testing your water, and instead of answering that question, you showed a slide about how you tested your water. Is there a third party that tests your water?
Yes, there's a consulting firm who does that work. We don't do that ourselves.
Okay. Are you testing Smith's Creek, the little creek that runs roughly 50 yards from the backside of your landfill?
I can address that one. The township actually got violation notices from Eagle for Smith's Creek. And the reason was, it didn't have anything to do with the landfill. It actually had to do with the septics in Smith's Creek that were failing. And we literally had stuff going directly into the creek.
So they found septic material in the creek, and you know it was from people's land and not the landfill that's pumping septic into it, that's 20 yards away?
Correct. That is correct.
Come on. Come on.
So, you want to address that one? Sure. You do it through dye testing.
Hi, my name's Aaron Darling. I'm the geologist with MMD. So what he is referring to, I'm the one that wrote that violation notice letter, and I was conducting my third quarter 2023 inspection of the facility. This was this area of it was the northwest area of the landfill and the certified closed portion of the landfill. The landfill split up between closed and active, and I observed a leachate seep, which was, it's leachate, the garbage juice, escaping from the clay cover.
From the landfill?
From the landfill?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I observed it collecting, possibly. There's no water testing done.
Okay, so my concern is, I spent 3 years in the environmental in the environmental trade. I worked as a nuclear, biological, chemical emergency responder for Clean Harbors. So I did a lot of testing. I know how to do testing of things. It's part of my job. You talked about having wells, which is all good and well. You know, I don't know how deep they are. My concern is exactly that. If something's leaching out of that dirt, out of the clay, blue clay, what we have, doesn't let a lot of chemicals penetrate it anyway, so your wells aren't gonna find anything unless it's PCB oil. That's one of the only things we know that, unless you're, for some reason, allowing people to put sodium hydroxide in there, maybe, that could penetrate through blue clay, but more than likely, you're not gonna find anything in those wells because blue clay doesn't allow a lot of things to penetrate anyway, except for like PCB oils and acid and caustic materials. My concern is that this substance, the juice, as you called it, from the landfill, that could have who knows what toxins, rolls off that bank, off of that blue clay, down into the landfill, which is, again, very close to Smiths Creek, and it gets carried out all through the county until it hits the big river, St. Clair River, and flows away. So that's kind of my concern, is that we should be testing the Smiths Creek, which I've thought forever, because I'm right there.
So, sorry to interrupt, but like ultimately we are. So I wrote that violation notice. This very small leachate seep compared to what the division has seen in the past. And it wasn't draining directly to Smiths Creek. It was in an area of their surface water drainage system on site. Corrective actions were taken to take care of that. And then every single quarter I receive surface water data, upstream, downstream, and upon my review, the data looked fine.
Okay. One last thing. Is there an EPA requirement for how far away a landfill has to be to a body of water?
Can I just go back to your other questions? So, Becky, can you, and maybe Steve Demick, I don't know if you know, but we ran a sewer line to Smiths Creek. Was that in 2012?
Yeah, down Henry Street.
Yeah, so the issues that we were having, they did dye testing. So you actually take dye, put it in the toilet, and you flush it to see where it goes. That's how we know where stuff was going. It was dye testing that they did with the toilets.
Okay, but
so we got
kinda
flagged from Eagle
Yeah.
for that violation, and we had to solve that issue and come up with something to get sewer. We don't have sewer anywhere near Smiths Creek. Our closest sewer connection is at Allen Road and Smiths Creek Road, which is like 4 miles. So we actually wound up getting a grant from USDA for $1 million and ran sewer to Smiths Creek to correct that problem. So that was an entirely separate issue than what he was talking about.
Right. Yeah, so he was talking about runoff that he's seen coming from the landfill, collecting near the creek, but definitely not going in there. Yeah, so my question was, is there an EPA requirement for how far a landfill can be from a body of water? I asked that because this was in 2008 when I was doing that type of work, 2009, and I vaguely remember there being an issue with, maybe it was Evergreen landfill, I don't remember which one. One of them we went to, had to move something because of water being nearby. So it made me believe, obviously there's a requirement somewhere. I would say we're definitely closer than that. Yes, yeah.
It is in the rules for the landfill boundary wherever the solid waste is filled to. I believe, Carolyn, if you correct me wrong, it's 800 feet to a private water well. Is that correct? 400 feet to a body, or to like a stream. So there are setback requirements.
Right.
And we are outside of those requirements from Smiths Creek. We were designed that way.
All right, well, I'm basically done here, but one last thing. I would like if maybe the county commissioners could have a body, a third party, someone to monitor and actually give the information to all of us. I grew up 3 houses down from the landfill. My kids go there all summer long. I'd really like to know what's going on, if we're being contaminated. And can we get a third party that's not a paid consultant, please? Maybe a government body, someone to monitor this stuff and let us know. Give us the information. Tell us what the air quality tests are. Tell us what the water testing is. That's all.
Dawn Nowicki.
So first, Mr. Matt, you said that before this year, there was only 4 complaints called into Eagle, I believe. But I talked to you last year about the smell. Last fall, you called me at home. Last year, it was, the smell, if I remember correctly, was bad in the spring, going into the fall, but we didn't have the smell as bad as we did this year, but last year we had the fires. How many fires did we have at the dump last year? 3? No? How many fires did we? Okay, then then the other fires were in 2021. We had 3 fires there at the dump.
We've had, since I've been the manager, and that's been about 16 years, there have been, I believe, 4 or 5 surface fires at the facility. And we did have one last year, that is correct.
Well, there were 2 within a 6-month period.
I'd have to go back and check.
There were
You
2
may
within
very
a
well may be
6-month
right.
period. So maybe it was 2021 going into 2022. My point being that we're putting up with this constantly. We have no idea what was burned off that went into the air. Now we're being subjected to this. The odor, I keep hearing July. You were at the county commissioner meeting in September. This problem started in May. Your employees and you, right there at ground zero, couldn't smell what was going on? That blows my mind that it took all of us to complain when you guys are working right there at the point of the problem. So I'm hearing a lot of, okay, we're going to try and get this fixed. We're going to try and get this fixed. But I'm not hearing about what we're going to do to ease our community's minds. What I would like to see going forward is that we have a permanent air quality testing facility there, and that it's reported either online in real time or every other week at the county commissioners meeting or something to that effect. And the data's not collected by on-site, that it's a third party that's accountable to the people.
Okay, I think that's something that could be considered.
Okay, and the other statement, county commissioners that are here, thank you. We do notice the absence of the county commissioner, that it is his district, and it's very disappointing.
So
But thank
he had
you
a
guys.
planned vacation already, so he is out of town.
Yeah, he's not
Right.
buying it, Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Something.
no, he's been a disappointment, so, but thank you.
So on the issue of fires, this is another question. I read that I read there have been fires in the landfill the last 5 years. Has any study been done of the burns released because of burned metals and gases and plastics? And then what caused the landfill fires?
Typically, what causes the fires these days are batteries that are in loads that are dumped on the tipping area. Batteries have become much more prevalent in recent years, and it doesn't look like there's any way of stopping that. We keep our eye out for them. We now stage soil near the tipping area to basically quench and deprive any fire that might start from oxygen, but that chemical reaction will sometimes take off with other materials in the area. So we are vigilant about that. We are making provisions for taking care of that, but they have happened on occasion in the past, definitely. All of the above.
All right, Sherry Shawcroft? Yes. Has there been any testing as far as what chemicals were released? All right, Sherry?
Hi. So I have some comments and some questions, and if I take more than my 3 minutes, I'm just going to do that as a taxpayer. So I want to first thank you because St. Clair Township is not alerting its residents. I live in St. Clair Township. This has been going on since June. I built my house out on Pine River Road 26 years ago, never smelled the landfill. In June, I woke up, the whole house was just permeated with the smell and my windows were not open. I thought I had a septic issue. I had the septic people out. They said, no, you don't have an issue. Started talking to neighbors, find out it's the landfill. So this has been going on, and I don't live as close to the landfill as some of these people. I can't imagine how bad it is for them. I'm a teacher. I work from home, so I'm on Zoom all day. I can't escape it. It permeates the house. None of our homes, no matter how well built your house is, no one's home is completely airtight. They're not built to be airtight. You draw air in from the outdoors, whether it's through your AC or through your heat. I wake up with migraines, nausea. I have to be on camera at 8 o'clock ready to instruct teachers with a smile on my face, and I'm sick. I can't imagine how it's affecting my animals as well. Let's be realistic. We can sugarcoat this all we want to, but this is a huge, huge health issue. Like I said, if it's that bad for me on Pine River Road, I can't imagine how bad it is for people that are close, even closer to the landfill, that are on Richmond Road. When the wind comes from the west-northwest, it's horrible. I was out in the yard a couple of weeks ago, and just like that, within probably 15 minutes, the smell was so bad, it was burning my eyes and my nose, and I had to go in. My nasal passages are inflamed constantly. I've been to the doctor about this. I'm a runner. I'm not someone who's chronically ill. I run, I do plenty of other sports. It's not that. It's that the air quality is making us sick. I spoke at the last time that the commissioners had a meeting. If you look on the CDC website, hydrogen sulfide is toxic. And so it's all well and good to hear all of the things that are being done, to see a slide of the timeline, but we've been told that it's going to get better, it's going to get better, it's going to get better. Matt, I talked to you today on the phone. I was the person that emphatically said, no, it's not better. I woke up Saturday morning, I was thinking, well, maybe it's getting better, but I track the wind every day, and if the wind is not coming from the west-northwest, I don't really smell it. Again, I'm farther away than some of these other people, and St. Clair Township, just for the county commissioners, St. Clair Township is not alerting their residents. And to get them to answer a phone call, I've even called and left messages, they're not responding. So I'm to the point where, I mean, am I gonna have to go sit at one of their meetings as well? Because they're not doing anything. Many of the residents on our street, they know what's happening, but nobody knows what to do about it because not everybody's on the Kimball page. I found out about the Kimball page through neighbors across the street, and we try to spread the word, but when you live in a rural community, not everybody's talking to each other every day. As far as what somebody said about water, so one of my other concerns is open water. I have a pond that I have not been able to use all summer because I'm concerned about the hydrogen sulfide that's in the air. What is it doing to the air that's falling to the ground? I pulled up, it said hydrogen sulfide has also been found to contaminate bore water and surface water bodies, usually at low levels. Well, any level is not okay with me. I eat organic, I feed my animals organic, I don't use chemicals in my yard, so any kind of toxic contamination is not okay. It's not okay for me, or even if someone doesn't live that lifestyle. It's not okay for any of us to be breathing this. And then for Eagle to say, well, we don't have answers yet. As we've all said, you are free to come to my home at 2 a.m. and wake up to that smell and not be able to go back to sleep because it's making you sick. If it's permeating my house, like I said, I can only imagine what it's like for all of these other people that are even closer to the landfill than I am. So again, the air monitoring systems, I think it's great to put them close, but how about putting them farther out? Like I said, depending on which way the wind's rolling that day, that's how people are getting affected. Somebody posted on the community page we have going that they could smell it 8 miles away this weekend. 8 miles? That's ridiculous. And I'm gonna chime in just along with everyone else. Canada, what? Again, I've listened to everything you've said about why we're taking their garbage. That's unacceptable. Clearly, Canada's keeping Canada beautiful, which is their motto, because they're polluting Michigan, and they're polluting our county and where we live and breathe and have families. And again, I'm all for with what everyone else said about and somebody said temporarily keep Canada out. Let's just stop taking Canada's garbage completely. If our garbage can't leave the county, no one else should be able to bring their garbage into our county. I just want to make sure I've covered everything that I want to say since I only have my time right here. Also, Matt, you had said earlier that there were 4 dozen calls. I think we have more than 4 dozen people that were probably sitting here when we started. I know I've called the EPA at least 5 or 6 times. So I know just myself alone, I've made so many calls to them. And again, with all due respect to Eagle, to say that, well, we're getting air monitors, we don't have a timeline, we don't have numbers, that's not okay. If you were waking up in our houses at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's not just 2 a.m. It's 3 p.m. in the afternoon. The other day, it was 6 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. I had my dog out at 7, left for a competition at 8, and within that 1 hour, my whole garage and my house smelled. If you were living in our houses, you would be on this a little bit faster than just saying, well, we don't really have numbers, and we're not really sure when things are going in. You're not in it, you're not breathing it. When you're driving around, it's during your business hours. It's not in the middle of the night when it's usually the worst, but it can get bad at any point of the day. So to just keep telling us, and I said this at the last meeting, we don't want to hear fluff, we don't want to hear the sugar coating, we want answers, and yesterday wasn't soon enough. So to say it's going to be in a month, that's not soon enough. End of December, that's not soon enough. Should have been months ago when people were reporting this. Unacceptable. Our tax dollars are paying for us to be polluted and poisoned. That is never, ever okay. And I'm just gonna make sure that I got all the other things I wanted to say. We were told at the last meeting that $400,000 was already put into the repairs. How do we see a detailed documentation of what that $400,000 went for specifically, what repairs were made with that $400,000?
So one thing we're going to do is we're going to post the presentation that was done tonight. I think some of that is included in there. No financials in there, but we can get that for you for sure.
Because as a community, we should be able to see the financials, and along with the $52,000 of revenue that they're getting from Canada bringing their garbage in. I mean, do we have to all stop paying our taxes in order for this to get, are they gonna legally come after all of us if we stop paying our taxes that pay for the landfill? Not that I'm saying we should do that, but I'm making a point that I know we had more than 52 people here tonight that are paying well over $1,000 a year in taxes. So again, our tax dollars are, I wish my taxes were still $1,000. So our tax dollars are, again, poisoning us. I appreciate that we're being heard, but being heard is not enough. We need action, and we need it last week.
All right, Melanie Mosher. I think I got two for you here.
Yes, because I'm really feeling sick. I'm now on a new medication for nausea because I'm chronically nauseous. And I would like to know from the toxicologist what it is doing to us at a cellular level, what's going to happen down the road long-term when this is all gone. What's going to happen? What's happening to us?
Yeah, I could speak a little bit. You know, as previous people have said, we don't have data at this time and don't necessarily know exactly what chemicals there are or what levels they're at. One of the chemicals that's likely driving some of the odor issues and potential health concerns in the community is hydrogen sulfide. And so this is a chemical that causes kind of rotten egg type odor. So this chemical is an irritant. So as we've heard other people say, it can cause irritation of the airways, so your nose, your throat. It can cause
Your
watering
ear?
eyes. Oh, sorry.
My ear, I have a chronic earache.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. So I was just saying that hydrogen sulfide can act as an irritant to the airways, so it can cause irritation of your nose, your throat. It can cause watering of your eyes. And apart from those irritant type effects, the odors themselves can also cause nausea, headaches, and things like that. When we're looking at long-term potential effects, if you're exposed to this chemical day after day for years or longer, that irritation to your nasal tissues, for example, can potentially cause more long-lasting tissue damage. So that's kind of a long-term type
So
concern.
we're talking years?
Yeah, but again, we don't have data, and all this depends on how high the levels are and for how long you're exposed to them. And when we get that data, that will allow us to actually evaluate that and provide you all with more information about what's going on. Just for your awareness, I would also add, unlike some other chemicals that can kind of stay in your body long term and build up over time, hydrogen sulfide is one that our bodies are able to remove quite quickly. Also, hydrogen sulfide has not been shown to cause cancer or cause, birth defects or those types of things. But again, those other issues that I mentioned are, not negligible at all. But.
All right, thank you.
All right, you had a question back there?
I'm not aware of any association between hydrogen sulfide specifically and autoimmune disorders. We don't have information at this time about what other chemicals might be in the air or the concentrations or anything like that, so we're not really able to answer that at this time.
All right, so thank you everyone for being here tonight. Okay. Oh, sorry. You know what? It may have been me. I've got piles of stuff up here, so I may have missed you, and I do apologize for that.
Not a big deal. I mean, I wasn't even going to talk until Aaron Brockovich's husband started talking, so I figured I'd throw in a few of my little anecdotal stories. So I moved in June of 2017, and I'm on Yeager Road, Richmond. I have a couple neighbors that live on the same street right here, which is probably, 1,000, 2,000 feet from the dump.
Right by Section 8?
Yeah. And when I met one of my neighbors, he told me, oh, well, we live next to a dump, which I had no idea. But he said, don't worry, you only smell it once or twice a year. But it's more like 3 times a week, and it's been years that we've been smelling it. my wife, I thought that was funny because he talked about they started doing the sewage stuff in 2018. And in 2019, my wife started getting really sick, and she couldn't figure out what it was. And then she decided that maybe it was her breast implants that were giving her these problems, because I don't know if people heard about breast implant illness. So she's had her boobs for 19 years, and it just so happened that we moved here 2 years later, a year after that experiment, that she decided to get her boobs out. And that was $7,500 that I had to pay. Well, she got them out in 2020, and her problems still persisted. So then she went on to, maybe it's mold in the house. And I do remodeling for a living. I'm a licensed contractor. I've gutted that house to the studs, every single house or every single room, right? There is no more mold. I have dehumidifiers under both of my crawl spaces. Whoa. So then, last year, she swore maybe it's the water because we have a well and maybe something's leaching from there. So I spent $800 on a 3-stage filtration system, hoping that that would be the thing. And here we are still. She's still having problems. So you can rule out the water in my estimation because it's 0.3 microns that it filtrates out. But the smells are so bad now, and it hasn't been the last just few months, it's been years, but it's a lot more frequent now, where we have a side-by-side that we bought last year, and sometimes it's so bad driving around the corner of Richmond that you literally have to either gag or hold your breath just to get past some of these beautiful houses that are just gorgeous, and I feel awful for them, let alone us. Let's see, what else? There are some days, I have 3 children. There's some days that not only do we don't want to go outside, but we don't even want our kids to go outside. And again, I buy nothing but organic. We eat super healthy lifestyles. My kids are in sports. So here my wife is going around in circles still. We did all of these things. And if the cow farts are supposedly ruining the climate and ruining the earth, imagine what this smell that literally smells like a cow crapped on your face, what is that smell doing to us 1,000 feet away? And like I said, I do remodeling for a living, and a quick little thing, in the wintertime, when it's cold, birds get close to the vents, your little stacks up in your roofs, because they want to keep warm. But because of the, what was it? The hydrogen sulfide that I just looked it up to, actually passes them out, and they fall in and die in the chimneys, the vents. So you said that it was that hydrogen sulfide. Well, then what are we breathing in? What is it doing to us? And you said that we can process it faster, but when you're breathing that much, this fast, what is it doing? So you can rule out all the other things. It's got to be something with what we're actually breathing. I guess that's really all I have to say. That, and just remember that Flint government also said everything was fine.
Sandy Hunt.
Okay, not a good public speaker. We live on Ravenswood in Richmond, and we've lived there for, 20 years? I think 20 years or so. Since we've lived there, we've had pets, and recently we've had a cat that just passed away from sinus cancer. We just lost a cat a few months ago to some kind of lung issues, and we've had her to, the specialist with, doctors checking. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with his lungs, but he had some kind of breathing issues. Whether it's coincidental, I don't know. Our son in 2019 was diagnosed with Addison's disease. They said it was autoimmune. We had a dog actually with Addison's disease. So it just seems like do autoimmune diseases or respiratory sinus cancer, it doesn't have anything to do with the fumes from the garbage dump. You know, I don't know. That's why I didn't know if the dump is tested of, you know, what kind of fumes are we breathing, and, you know, my son is 22 years old. He's got to live the rest of his life with Addison's disease. So, and it started in 2019, so does it have anything to do with the testing of whatever was going on in 2018? So that's all I have to say. I just didn't know if it has any, if it's coincidental or if it has anything to do with it. So, thank you.
All right, so I think we up here have a lot of action points that we need to take care of. We are going to post some information. We're going to do it as quickly as we can. It is a holiday week, so I don't know that we'll have it all done before we break for the holiday, but we will do our best to get it done as quickly as possible. We are also going to post the video, if it worked, which hopefully it did. It was a new thing for us, so we'll post the video online of this session, and then we'll go from there. Yes?
Could I ask you a favor, please?
Yes.
I have been calling this person, I don't know what is it called? It's Pollution Energy Alert System.
Okay.
Now, where does that place with these guys? This fellow, Arena, I think I called you to see if you had talked to him.
Arana? Yes, I've talked to Arana. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I was my understanding that he was over the inspection. Matt, did you meet with him? No, you missed him, didn't you? Last time he was at the site. Yeah. So where does he fit in with this? Is he over you guys?
He is part of Eagle. He is part of the Air Quality Control Division. I don't know where he fits in with you guys, so.
And I know he told me that he was over you guys and over the commission. Only if a commissioner went to them with a complaint.
I don't think that's our procedure. Irana works for Air Quality Division.
It's not, it's over the operation and complaints with Smith Creek landfill. This Robert Joseph? Yes, I spoke with him. Okay, but he is over 3 other landfills. Right. In Michigan. So I was just wondering, where does Irana, his position, fall?
Irana is one of the inspectors, just same as Robert Joseph, but he only in charge one landfill, whereas Robert Joseph has 2, I believe, landfills. So they all work as an inspector for air quality.
Well, anyway, they said that they were over, he was over Smith Creek landfill. And he, you know, he wrote up citations, right? Yeah. And so I was just curious, where does he fit?
So he's with Eagle, so Eagle oversees the operation of the landfill. So they have 2 divisions here today. The first one is air quality control, and then the other one is it called the mechanical division? Yes, weird name to me, but materials management division. So the materials management division is responsible for the licensing, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? Air quality control is going to deal with the issues like we're seeing now. But I think they're both actually going to deal with those things. But air quality specifically is what Arana is dealing with.
And this fellow, though, he is also over the whole production and operation of the landfill, is what he said.
Okay.
That's why I wondered. He was out there with the
Yep. Mr. Felix, you had something?
Thank you, Rob. I'm going to keep it short because my wife says I've already said plenty tonight. I just wanted to let you know that 40 years I've been in this business, the avenue to fixing this lies with Eagle. Take a piece of that tear-off sheet I have up there, do the complaint on the web. Eagle is an investigative body for the state. They're not going to be able to tell you everything they're doing. They don't announce. They will come out and investigate. And I can assure you, being on the corporate side of it for many years, once they get their teeth into you, they don't let go until it's solved. Your corrective action lies with contacting Eagle. Tear off that little form I've given you. Every entry is logged. Also do the Kimball Township survey. I appreciate Supervisor Usatowski doing that. That information will come in handy if there's a class action suit required. Google the Ann Arbor landfill that Dana Nessel was involved with Eagle over the past few years, millions of dollars. Google Wolverine and the problems they've had. It goes on, but Eagle is your solution. Matt here is probably the best guy to fix this problem at the landfill. You don't like hearing that, but he has a lot of experience. He just needs to be pointed in a different direction by the commission. So with that, thank you all for being here tonight. I appreciate it. Yes, sir. I have. I am no longer a professional engineer. I'm not licensed anymore or insured, but I would look at suing them for technical malfeasance for leading us this far down this path. Again, I am no longer a professional. I've been retired. I've been happily retired, but I would look at pursuing legal action for technical malfeasance for leading us this far down this path. Matt would know more about their capabilities than I, and I would defer to him. I'm not going to answer that publicly.
All right, so I got one real quick,
you.
one other question or comment?
Like, you guys from Eagle or whatever, if you guys go on the west side right now, the wind's coming from the east. If you guys want to just take a drive and do us all a favor and just take a whiff, breathe it for a couple minutes.
So I just want to thank, there's a lot of people here tonight that want to help with this situation, get it resolved, and I want to thank all of them for being here. Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, appreciate you guys being here. They're going to be great resources for us moving forward. County Health Department, who has been very instrumental as well. Eagle, who sometimes we don't like, in this case would be our friend, and so we appreciate them coming out. Matt, I know he's in the firing line right now, but I appreciate the fact that he got up here and answered your questions. Our county commissioners and our county administrator, all very supportive. They all have a great ear for what you have to say. And if you want change or you want something that's different, let them know. I mean, that's what they're here for. They're here to listen to you, and that's why they came out tonight. I appreciate that as well. And let me just say, we set up some ground rules at the beginning, and I really appreciate that we stuck to those ground rules. I know this is a very difficult situation. It's something that none of us want. It makes us angry. It gets us upset. It gets us frustrated. And nothing worse than hearing, hey, you know what, we're working on it, or, and we want a solution today, right? So I really appreciate all of you and your sticking to those guidelines today. So I'm going to hang around. If you have questions for me, I'll be glad to answer any questions. Again, thank you to the River Church for hosting this and working on the live stream. So have a good night.